So the first season of the Halo series is finally over, and at the very least, it managed to end on a high note. However, I found the opening of the episode resolving Dr. Halsey's plot to be rather disappointing. After a failed escape attempt, Dr. Halsey is finally apprehended by the UNSC and is sentenced to be executed. But we then get the reveal that this Dr. Halsey was actually a clone of the real Halsey the entire time, and it's revealed that the real Halsey was visiting tourist attractions around Reach or something. I don't know, I feel like if they wanted to go this route, then they really needed to set up that there was at least a second Halsey clone. To me, this reveal felt more like the writers not knowing how to get Dr. Halsey out of this situation alive, and so they just pulled another clone out of nowhere while showing us that the real Halsey was still free. Although this does leave Halsey in an interesting position for Season 2, seeing as the UNSC wants her dead, and the Spartans will no doubt execute her on sight, now knowing that they were abducted by her as children, unless the writers just decide to get lazy and have Halsey rejoin the UNSC by introducing some sort of issue that only she can resolve, which is the option that I would assume they're going to take given the track record of this series. But after everything with Halsey is dealt with, the Spartans depart to the Covenant's holy planet to reclaim the stolen artifacts. And it's in the second half of the episode where we finally get to see the Spartans go all out against the Covenant in an action sequence that is worthy of bearing the title of Halo. Now there's a lot of things about this sequence that could be nitpicked, such as the brutes jumping in out of nowhere to join the battle, or the fact that there were over 200 elites hidden beneath the temple that Cortana couldn't detect, or the thing that bothered me most about this sequence being that the Spartans don't once try to kill one of the prophets, despite the prophets just sort of hovering 20 feet above the battlefield the entire time, because for whatever reason they didn't even have a spare phantom waiting around to evacuate them in case of an emergency. But despite these flaws, this is easily the best part of the season, and I would definitely recommend watching it if you're interested in Halo, even if you don't like this show at all. The only thing I didn't really agree with them doing in this sequence is killing off Maquis, surprisingly. Especially the way they kill off Maquis, it just didn't feel right at all for the character. Since in the middle of this huge fight, she decides to touch the artifact, which, of course, transports her and Master Chief's consciousness onto Halo, leaving them both vulnerable on the battlefield. On the Halo ring, she tells Chief that she doesn't want to leave and she just wants to stay here, despite her knowing that her body is still at risk. And this ends with Spartan Kai having to shoot Maquis in order to wake Chief up from the trance. Personally, I was hoping that Maquis would actually make it to Halo, and having her be the one to actually unleash the Flood upon the ring, since her and Master Chief are the only ones capable of interacting with Forerunner technology in this universe. So I thought that, with her being the only human member of the Covenant, and then being responsible for releasing the Flood upon Halo, would serve as a good motivation for the Covenant to suddenly despise humanity. However, they just kill her off here, so it leaves the Covenant without anyone who can access Forerunner technology now. And it's not like in the games where they can just take any human and use them to access the technology. Now the only character we know of that can actually use it is Master Chief. The episode ends with the Spartans being unable to deal with the overwhelming forces of the Covenant, and so Master Chief gives up control of his body to Cortana, who safely manages to get the other Spartans as well as the Forerunner artifact onto the Pelican before fleeing the planet. However, it ends ambiguously on whether or not Master Chief will be able to regain control of his body, or if Cortana will remain in control. And I'm sure that if we ever get a second season, then at least the first episode or two will be about Master Chief trying to reclaim control of his body from Cortana. Overall, this was a great episode, if a bit redundant, seeing as it is revealed that once the two artifacts are combined, they create a map leading to Halo. So the UNSC reclaiming these artifacts seems kind of pointless since Quan has access to a portal that just leads to Halo. But despite how good this episode was, it still doesn't make up for how terrible the rest of the series was. So if you're at all interested in watching this series, then I would just recommend skipping to the final episode, since it's the most accurate in portraying what Halo is meant to be. And if we do end up getting a second season, I just hope it's more like this final episode, and less like the rest of the series. But these have just been my thoughts on the finale to the Halo series. Let me know what you thought in the comments, and until next time, thanks for watching.